Okay, I want to continue what I started last time, and if you remember, that was Jesus and Sun Myung Moon comparing the missions and the preparations, and I called that a preparation, the first set of 3. And today I will be talking about the mission. So what is this picture? Well, this is something I should have shared in the last time. We were in Tallinn, Laila, Marit and I, and Jack Cawley was there for a visit. So we took some pictures, and I just want to start by sharing those. So here you see Ave Martinsson, and we have a next slide. That's Ave playing a flute, and this woman, she comes from Ukraine. Ave's wife, her name is Olga, and this is Olga's sister from Ukraine. And here you see Jack Cawley, Olga and Avo. So we had a good time there. It was not so many people, but we were maybe 20, 25, something like that. And we had a good sharing. Jack, he presented a short slide over True Father's life and his mission. And then we had some sharing together with a breakfast, brunch. And here you see all the people there. And yeah, it was nice. It was a family from Lithuania, Riga, with many children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children, yeah. Okay, so nice to share neighbors this way also, you know, happenings. Okay, so now we come to my presentation, and you can see here, those are the 3 headlines of preparation. And now today it's public mission, and the next one, next month, will be the fruits of this mission of the Messiah and true parents. So why I have this years is because I call it the first Providence, starting 1945. A true father wanted to go to 1952, and he said several times that would have been a success if he had been received in Korea in those early years. But it didn't happen, as we know. And 1960 he could restore all this, and we had the true parents blessing and starting blessing for members. Okay, so this we have seen before. I'm comparing the development from True Father's young age up to the victory of Cheongilguk, and Jesus on the right side. But he, unfortunately, he was stopped by the way of the cross. So he achieved the spiritual salvation, but not the physical family salvation. And if you remember, if you have good memory, you remember this engrafting we talked about last time. I think that I finished with this last time. And engrafting needs some explanation, because we know from the principle they talk about original sin is the root of all sin. And this is, I think, the reason for some confusion. And some speeches actually say that we are engrafted into true parents, but that is wrong. And the reason is that you engraft a good branch, let's say, like this little branch you see with a flower there, that's from a good apple tree, and it's engrafted into an apple tree that have good roots, but not so good fruits. So the fruit is the important thing here to remember. So engrafting process is that we take a spiritual branch from true parents, or we are receiving, not taking, but receiving a branch, and we are engrafting it spiritually into us. And then we can, from that, blossom good fruits, meaning our children, grandchildren, and future lineage can be free of original sin. Yeah, so that of that. And here I compare the 2000 years ago, we start counting with the birth of Jesus, and his mission was when he became 30 years old, he started public mission. And then we can see that we are in a similar time frame now. The return of Christ, born 1920, first Providence 1945, and second attempt 1960, and 2013 we start counting the heavenly calendar. Okay. So, yeah, this already we mentioned. Here is something I think I have mentioned before also. Billy Graham was the minister of John F. Kennedy, the American president. And one day on the back, way back to the home of the president-elect, and the car stopped and he turned to me, and Kennedy asked him, "Do you believe in the second coming of Jesus Christ?" He asked unexpectedly. "I most certainly do." Billy Graham answered, "Well, do my church believe it? They have it in their creeds. They don't preach it," he said. "They don't tell us much about it. I'd like to know what you think." And this is from the biography of Billy Graham, just as I am. And I think this is timely. This is interesting because he was a very popular president. Those of us who were at that time alive, we remember that actually the whole world sort of followed this new young president couple. It was not only the president, but his wife also. They were sort of an ideal, looked upon like a really good human beings, a good human family. And I connect this very much to True Parents and the True Parents' existence on earth. This was 1961, just 1 year after True Parents' blessing. So I'll come back to this a little bit later, but this is interesting. Spiritual, I think this is very interesting that a couple became sort of worldwide renowned at that time. This is a picture. When I saw this first time, I felt, wow, this is True Father there in a sort of Buddhist outfit, like the new Buddha to come. But then actually I found out later, it doesn't take away the interest in this, but anyway, this was made by a sister. So of course she painted True Father's face there. So it's a painting by an American sister. But anyway, you can see True Father liked it and he's holding it up there. So it had some meaning. The Christ is not just coming for Christians, but for all mankind, for all religions. And this is the principal teaching. Yeah? Very hopeful. And this is about the fourth Adam and Eve. We know that from 1999, True Father spoke about the fourth Adam, and that means that we are in that position. And again, I come back to that, what True Father actually said in 1965. The purpose of coming of Christ is that we all, mankind, should follow him and become like Christ. Yeah. I will not read all this. There's much text here, but anyway, I'm comparing to Jesus, what's important when he could have fulfilled or not fulfill his mission. And if you remember, he took 3 disciples with him to pray, and they fell asleep 3 times, and he was scolding them. And that was really like the foundation of the 3 archangels that should have supported Jesus. But why did they fall asleep in such an important event? He encouraged them to stay awake. And we can see that this is not a normal sleep. This is a spiritual attack, a spiritual sleep that they were attacked by. And we have another instance in Old Testament when Abraham don't cut the doves, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham. So it's a similar thing. Behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Yeah. Spiritual attack is working there. So if we go to True Father, then crucial messianic tipping points, we can see 1935, we can count like one important point where he rejected 2 times, take on the mission. The 3rd time, Jesus encouraged him. And I heard the story that Jesus actually told him that then you have to find a person who can take on this mission. And then True Father accepted because he didn't want that suffering to pass on to someone else. And 1944 was the first marriage, and that's the first providence. So it was based on another true mother, you could say, potential true mother. I think this is important to understand, that the Messiah is not born as a Messiah. He's born with the potential to become Messiah and true parents. And this goes for Jesus, this goes for true mother and true father. And true parents, we know, were successful. So this first rejections was the first providence in Korea. And then in Hungnam, he restores 12 disciples, and that's a foundation. So actually, 1953, you can say 1952, he finished writing down together with Wonpil Kim, the first divine principle. Actually, the first one was actually was lost in North Korea, but this was the second writing of divine principles. So it was finished 1952, and 1952 is interesting because 40 plus 1952 is 1992, and that's why it's here on this time frame. So 40 years, true father proclaimed, now true mother is my equal, and we are at the same starting point as 1945. 40 years of desert, spiritual desert, and rejection and persecution. Okay. And this is about the 7 times they faced death and resurrected. Not only spiritually, but both spiritually and physically, and they survived. And I'll go on to a picture here, which actually I was involved in, you could say. I was present, that's the word I should use. I was present at the 7th resurrection. 2008, I was in Chongpyeong, and they announced that there had been an accident with 2 parents, and of course everybody was shocked. Helicopter accident had just happened at that couple of hours before it was announced, but they are okay. Of course, they reported that. Yeah. So that was special experience. Okay, all this I know you can read about this so in the details, so I don't go through it so much. I try to keep 30 minutes here and then I'll stop, so not to drag on too long. So here I'm comparing Christianity and the Bible with true parents' teaching and divine principle. And we can see in the Bible, it talks about God's creation took 7 days, and that is symbolic. In the principle, it's 7 epochs. And actually, we can find in history that there are 7 distinctive epochs in man's and mankind's development and the creation's development. So this makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the principle is very more specific and exact. And the fall in Christianity, now this is my interpretation, so this is not any official text. This is how I have interpreted Christianity and how I interpret the principle. So the fall was a broken test of faith, and this I heard from several Christians or my friends. Excuse me. But as we know, the principle explains the sexual wrongdoing was the cause of the fall. Spiritual Lucifer and physical with Adam. And Christianity say that Jesus is God, and the principle explains that he is a human being, a sinless, 100% sinless, divine human being. And God and Jesus are one in unity, but they are separate entities. So Jesus is not the creator God, but God worked in union with Jesus 2,000 years ago. And I'm sure he has been working spiritually for 2,000 years, like that. Yeah. Trinity, that goes into the 4-position foundation. So Adam and Eve, God at the top, and children. 4-position. If we take God and the Son and the Holy Ghost, then we get the Christian Trinity. So they're sort of overlapping in an interesting way. And many Christians look up to the sky and think Jesus will come down on the clouds. And clouds symbolize holy people in the spirit world. In several places in the Bible, it talks about clouds also as spirits. So the return of Jesus will be physical because sin was done on earth. It was done by 2 physical human beings, Adam and Eve. That's why mankind need a new Adam and Eve for full redemption, physical and spiritual redemption. Very logical. This I really liked when I heard this first time in the principle. It was so logical and so sort of wonderful that it makes so much sense to me. And that Jesus forgives all sins, that cannot really be true if we look around us in the world, how the world is looking. So the principle concentrates on the original sin, the root of all other sins, and that has to be removed by true parents. So, yeah. And all who die end up without exception in spirit world. So good or bad doesn't matter in that case. They will all go to a spiritual world. But according to their life and character, they can go to paradise, believers in Jesus, or intermediate stages, or at the lowest level, it's hell. And True Father mentioned many times that kingdom of heaven has been empty. So that is waiting for us blessed couples. Okay. I have to move my picture a little bit here. Okay. So when you die, you stay in a sleeping state until the return of Christ. That is quite common Christian thinking. And we say all who receive true parents' holy blessing have the potential to go together to kingdom of heaven, on earth and in heaven. Yeah. Potential is the important word here. Yeah. And only Christians go to heaven. So they think that Jesus is the only gateway. And we say all without exception goes on to live in spirit world, in their spiritual body, with 5 spiritual senses. Yeah. So depending on how you interpret the word heaven here, I will not mention anything more about that. And here we can see New Testament talks about I, Jesus, am the way, the truth, and the life. And True Father commented on this 1998 about love, life, and lineage. The Bible does not mention attaining oneness through true love. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Here love is missing. And we know the Bible talks about, I think it was St. Paul who said, if I don't have love, it has really no meaning, anything else. And here similarities. Kingdom of God is within you, and that goes for us too. Yeah, so we can think about True Father in Hungnam prison. He was sleeping beside the toilet, and internally he could still manifest and keep his divine spirit, and it's not an external place, kingdom of heaven. It's a state of mind. It's that you can be anywhere, any situation, if you have the right attitude. And the 3 great blessings, that goes, of course, for Old and New Testament and completed Testament. Be fruitful, mind and body, divine unity. That was reached by Jesus. Multiply, divine marriage. He never reached that. And have a good dominion of all things, divine creation. Yeah. It's important to mention good dominion, because we had several leaders, Hitler, Stalin, Putin. They also tried to have dominion of all things, but in a bad way. So good dominion, important. Okay. And Jesus mentioned that we should not worry. God will provide everything for us. And True Father's comment, this shows that the central theme of thought in the Bible for heaven's nation. The Bible philosophy says we must seek that nation. It doesn't say to seek your own happiness. So the nation is very important. And he said many times that actually nation is the tool that Satan is using. And we can see that with history of Germany, history of Russia, and other countries also, where bad leaders have used the power of the nation to dominate others. Yeah. It's very timely with what's going on now in Ukraine. Okay. Here's some pictures from True Father's torture, Jesus sacrificing his physical body. Physical body was very important. I mean, this is interesting that the ultimate sacrifice, you know, in Judaism, they offer lamb, and that is a replacement, because man will die if you offer a human being, that offering has to be death, yeah. So actually Jesus is true in this way, in the spiritual way, that Christianity teaches that Jesus was an offering for our sins, for the rejection of Jesus 2000 years ago. He was the pure offering that God could fully receive and work on. True Father, this is very important that True Father didn't die then, because he needed his physical body to fulfill the second coming. So we can imagine how in agony he must have been when he was tortured, because he knew the mission. He could not die. Can you imagine you are being tortured and really severely tortured, and still you know that you cannot give up and die? Terrible. And here I'm coming to the end of my sharing, like I call it, sharing. Here we have three divine bodies. We have True Father and True Mother, of course, and we have Jesus. That is 1, 2, 3. And this is a very good speech. I encourage everyone to read, and especially someone coming to the unification movement. This is like core teaching, change of blood lineage, the real experience of salvation by the Messiah, from 1970. One of my very favorite speeches. And we come to prophecies, and here I will skip some slides, because I want to continue, come to this one. And this you have seen before, so I only show it because it's very important for understanding how there is a great preparation before True Father was being born, 1920, starting his mission 1945. So Jesus spoke of his return, of course. Why didn't he say there will come a new man from Korea in my instead of me, and his name will be Moon, something like that? No, he said, I don't know, only the Father in heaven knows. And of course, this is very wise, because how many false messiahs from Korea would we have had during all this 2000 years? Yeah, if it had been in the Bible like that way. And St. John at Patmos, there were many things he revealed in the Revelation, the last book in the New Testament. In Revelation, it talks about a woman, I'm quoting freely now, a woman give birth to a son, and whose name is only known to himself when he grows up, of course. And there's also the symbolic marriage of the Lamb. The marriage of the Lamb is the marriage of Christ, the returning Christ and his bride, True Mother. So this is very, if you have Christian friends, you witness to them, it's always good to base on the Bible, mostly just base things on the Bible, and they will start thinking about this. Actually it says in the Bible that there will come a new Christ and a new name, and he will marry. It is in the Bible. Martin Luther, he started this Protestant sort of revolution, Catholic and Protestants, and that was the start of the last 400 years. It explains in the principle. Nostradamus, he spoke about Christ will come from the east. He will not come to Europe again or Israel. And this was made, as you can see, 500 years ago. Swedenborg, a Swedish writer of spiritual text. So he went to spirit world and he testified to many things there, and many things are in line with divine principle, like everyone is judging themselves. So through the life, through the way they live, they will have their life in the other world, on the other side. Just like the principle explains. He got one thing wrong though, and he thought that his teaching, not that he himself, but his teaching was the second coming of Christ. So he a little bit stepped over his position, you could say. Tagore, an Indian poet, Nobel Prize winner, he spoke about the light in Korea, spiritual light in Korea will again be lit and shine over the whole world. He lived in the early 1900s, so that was very prophetic. Yeah. Yeats, Irish poet, he wrote 1920 a poem about the second coming. And this is interesting. You can see here, 1920, True Father was born. So it's like a spiritual message went out over the world, and it was picked up by William Yeats in Ireland, and he wrote about it. And then you see at the bottom there are three ladies, Russian, Blavatsky, and there's Bailey and Besant. Those were three ladies that wrote books about spirituality, and especially Alice Bailey. She wrote about 1945 about the second coming of Christ also. And there are many interesting points. She spoke about 1935, and that was when True Father met Jesus. And I mean, in parallel, she doesn't speak about that, of course, but she says that there was an important year, 1935, when this was decided. And that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So she picked up this spiritual messages also. Also, Rudolf Steiner, who spoke about second coming. And Fatima prophecy, the three young children in Fatima, Portugal, who saw Mary, the mother of Jesus. And not only they saw it, there was thousands of people coming there. They saw it first, only those three children. And they told other people, and of course they didn't believe because they were young children, you know. But anyway, they said that, oh, she promised to come back at a certain date, you know, some weeks or months later. And then there were some people there coming with them to that field in Portugal, outside Fatima, and they could all see this manifestation of Mary. So then I think there were several more times, and more people come. So there were many thousands of people in the end who experienced this. That's why it's so famous. And one of the girls you see on the top there, Lucia, she is with the Pope in that picture, and she had the mission to bring a message to the Pope and to the Catholic Church. And it was something about the last days. And the Pope decided this was not time to reveal this. So they never revealed it for the public. Okay, and then we have Branham also. He is a very interesting person. A spirit world came to him in 1946 and saying that you will be a forerunner of John the Baptist for the second coming. And at that time, True Father was going to Pyongyang in North Korea. So it was like they were spiritual outpouring in Korea at that time, that True Father was the Messiah, and he was starting to gather disciples there in Pyongyang. And that sort of picked up, again, you can pick up spiritual broadcasts, and it was picked up by Branham. Of course, he didn't think about a new person. He never mentions like that way, but just, you know, this message that he will be a forerunner for the return, the second coming of Christ. So, and also he got messages about the fall of man being sexual. So he said, I can use the Bible to prove that the fall of man was sexual. So he was, you know, he was very inspired and very insightful, like the principle explains. But he got a little bit wrong. He said that Cain was born out of Lucifer's relationship with Eve. But of course, we know that his position is like the Cain side, like we say, the Cain side. He's the firstborn. He's from the first part of the fall of man. But he thought that actually he was born from Satan. That was wrong. Arthur Ford, we spoke about before, many messages. True Father was present at a spiritual meeting in Philadelphia, USA, 1964-65. Vanga is a prophet from Bulgaria, famous also. She mentioned True Father. She mentioned Unification Movement. And yeah, that's significant for our movement's history in that way. And then we have Korean prophecies also. Shungam Nok is mentioned in the One Principle, and there's a long history of prophecies that Korea will be the chosen nation now. Okay, I think I'll stop here because half an hour is gone, and if you're more interested, there are more slides, but they are online. I should not say but, they are online. So you can, if you like or interested, you can continue and have a look what's the rest. So next time, I'm preparing now for the next time. So next time will be the fruits. It will be like our movement, and I hope you will join me next month. That will be the end of December, around Christmas time. Okay, so please join me in a final prayer. Dearest Heavenly Parent, we are so grateful we can gather here with the technology of Zoom, and we can both meet physically in Maunala, and I can sit here nicely with a candle and express myself and my thoughts, and we can feel spiritually we are united, even though there's a physical distance between us. We can still be in heart, we can be one, and we can be united with true parents, and united with you, your providence. And we really wish to expand this foundation now here in Finland and Nordic countries, and that is closest to us. And we want to be your heavenly emissaries and really live up to true parents' expectations of us. And every day we can do something good for each other and for people we meet. And we can spread goodness, we can spread love, we can be your channels towards other people. So like Christianity spread based on love 2000 years ago, it was a great spiritual message that caught so many people. In the beginning, they were even ready to give their lives for the belief in Jesus as the Messiah. So we should be maybe even more eager to sacrifice and share this wonderful message of the blessing and of the future lineage connected to true parents. I thank you all for listening, and I want to share this offering, and I want to pray for a good rest of the Sunday and a good week ahead until we meet next Sunday again. Please, I pray in our precious names. I also want to pray for peace in Ukraine, of course, and peace on earth. Please, I pray in our precious names as blessed central families. Adieu. Thank you.